So
about
your
10
God is
minutes ago.
dependent?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. My God is not. That means my God is better than yours. Alhamdulillah. I rest my case.
The sun is a God.
How?
If the sun is not there, we will not exist. There will be no life on earth.
Yeah, you should be worshipping oxygen, you know, because without oxygen we wouldn't be here.
You're just saying living things.
Bad. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So yeah, we are back with Bill, right?
Yes, back with Bill, Hashim.
My
Shake
name's
hands.
Hashim. Yeah, of course.
Great respect for you.
Thank you.
Great respect for Islam. I think it's a great religion. Great people, Muslim community are great people. Yes, and I love Muslims. First went to a mosque actually when I was 17 because my best friend at the time was a Muslim.
Which
Yes.
mosque may I ask?
It was Regent's Park Mosque.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
The central mosque here, we call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a very overall, very favourable view of Islam and of Muslims, and a lot of sympathy for suffering that some Muslims are having in the Middle East today. Obviously, a lot of us are very upset
Let's
about.
be specific. Palestine.
Yes.
Free Palestine.
Yeah. So a lot of suffering,
Yes.
and we're very
May Allah-
sympathetic to the children, the women, the children. Who are dying of starvation right now.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the
It's
things.
basically a genocide happening. The International Court of Criminal Court has already, you know, put this guy Netanyahu as wanted. That's why he's not allowed in many countries today. But you know, we thought that is not going to happen after the brutal killing of the Jews in Germany by Hitler. And today, unfortunately, we are seeing it not only in our time, but we are seeing it many times live because of social media. So people cannot hide anymore like they used to for the last 70 years. Now, not only seeing starving children, literally children, when we see those videos, you know, sometimes it just hurts your soul so deep. You see these children with their bones sticking out, yeah? And we can't even get food in there because they destroy the trucks. They don't allow the trucks inside, carrying aid from all over the world. But yeah, I mean, this is oppression happening as we speak. And, you know, like yourself and anyone who's looking at it objectively, you know, without bias, they'll see that this is something which should not happen to any people, let alone the Palestinians. Or, you know, like even many of the Jews who are there, they are suffering as well.
Yes,
So it's both sides suffering, but obviously the Palestinians are the ones who have been victimized here, and for the whole world, there's nothing much done. Most of the leaders, I think it was recently when Starmer said that he's going to recognize it in September, if there's a condition that if there is no ceasefire from the Israelis. I mean, why wait another month? When you see a genocide happening in front of you, why don't they stop it? But anyway, I think we digress. So what is it you wanted to talk about today?
Okay, yeah, so basically, you remember last time?
Yeah.
We should continue because I think it was an interesting point. A few other people have mentioned to me at that point that we raised last time.
Was it...
How do we define God?
Oh, yes.
If we define God, I think you have a colleague, actually, Mansour, and I listened
He's just
to...
here?
Yes, Mansour, yes.
Yeah.
He was actually asked this question, I think it was a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and he also gave an answer. And so I would combine his answer with your answer, and you're talking about something that is independent and that everything else is dependent on. Do I have
It's part of the attribute of Allah that He's independent, He's eternal, and so on. But before we go that, if I remember from last time, do you believe in God or you don't?
Okay, so this is why I was asking about definition. With respect to some definitions of God, I would be agnostic, so I would have doubts. There are other definitions. If you gave that definition, I would agree, well, that type of God has to exist.
So you think there are different types of God, or you think there's only one God?
I think there's different definitions of God.
But how many gods are there? We're talking in terms of numbers now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's a good question. How many gods are there? You can only ask that question once you've agreed a definition.
So you're saying there is a definition out there which you would be open to accepting. Within that definition, there's multiplicity of God.
Yes, if you define God one way, you will end up with many gods. If you define God another way, you'll end up with only one God. What I agree with you is you're highly unlikely to be on the right side of science or history or whatever you want to call it, religion, if you say there is no God.
On the wrong side?
Based on this definition, there has to be a creator. Yes, last time I said there's a paradox.
But when you say different definitions of the same God, let's say if God was one and people gave different definitions, wouldn't that be contradictory? If the definition is contradictory. Like for example, one definition says very clearly, like in Islam, like in Judaism,
Yes.
and also Christianity, and many other religions which claim, I think also the Sikh, yes, they claim that God is one and only. And if this is the case, then anyone else who brings a definition contrary to that, wouldn't that itself contradict the very God that we are discussing?
Yes, I mean, obviously we can put arguments from authority, but I don't think that's why, Hashim, we're here today. Because, okay, some authority can say something to us, whether it's in a book, or whether it's a government, or whether it's the head priest in a country.
Or whether it's God.
Yes.
That's the authority,
yes,
ultimate authority.
But the people we're interested in is ourselves. We have our own. If I just finish, we have our own minds. We have the ability to think.
Yeah.
You're clearly a highly educated, highly intelligent person.
And
Very
so
well
are you.
read, as we discovered twice.
Yeah.
I've spoken to you.
Yeah,
So-
the first time was messy, I know.
Yes, yeah, a lot of.
Yeah. That's why I prefer to
interruption.
stay in the side here where we can have a nice discussion.
Yes. So, the point I'm getting at is we need to understand how we define God, because this is pretty important.
Okay.
Because whether you live or die, or you're punished, and how you're punished, and whether you're a good person or you're a bad person, this is based on our understanding of what God says you should and should not do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's get to the definition.
So we wanted. So what I've suggested is, if you go by one definition, yes, you will get only one God. If you go by another definition, you'll get multiple gods. If you go by another definition, you'll get no God. I'll give you.
By what definition do you get multiple gods?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. This is the.
So just let me repeat the question the gentleman asked. By what definition?
What definition
Why what-
might you end up with multiple
I'm,
gods?
yeah. So by what definition might you end up with multiple gods?
Yeah.
Let's try and answer that. Over here we have the earth, and we're on the earth. Yes. And over there in the sky we have the sun. Now we both agree these are two independent and separate things. Objectively speaking, we can see them, we can feel them. We can feel the sun, we can't touch it. We can feel the earth on which we stand. Both of these project a field. Now that field isn't a subjective thing, it's not about feelings, it's very powerful. You know, you fall and you hit the ground, you get hurt, and you get very hurt. So, these objects are projecting fields beyond themselves, and they influence those other things around them. And if you define God as being something that is powerful enough to exert an influence and a power beyond itself, you'll end up with a definition that means there are multiple gods. So, for example, if we go back into the history of religion, we've all heard the phrase Israel. Yes, Israel. Where does that word come from?
It's basically another name for Jacob.
It comes from a compound of three different words. Israel. Israel. And that's a Greek word, it is an Egyptian word, and it is an Aramaic word. And when you combine these three words, and I was once at a dinner party, and I mentioned this like a little quiz. Who can get this? Between them, they all got it. There's only 8 people there. They knew it. There's just ordinary people. So the eidos is the one very few people get unless they're Greek. If you're Greek, you'll get that one. Very few people are, so they usually don't get that one. The other two, everyone gets. Ra, well, that's the sun god, the Egyptian god of the sun. Hence the relevance of this word Israel. And finally, El, you'll all know this if you're Muslim. You'll know from the Aramaic. Arabic is based on Aramaic, written in the Demotic script. You will know that El. Yes.
But by the way,
Okay,
El, just to
So,
one point I
Yeah,
want to
go,
make.
go.
The term El is actually Canaanite,
yes.
which originated way before the Hebrews, the Israelites, and the Aramaic
Yes.
speaking people. So it's not an Aramaic word, it's actually a Canaanite word. And in fact, the Canaanites had a god called El.
Yes, okay, I agree with you on
Good.
all of that.
So it's not Aramaic.
So yes,
Thank
the
you.
distinction between the Canaanites and the people from Iraq.
Canaanites. Oh yeah.
Okay, so we've got
You mean
Aramaic,
Mesopotamia?
Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Chaldeans, all the same thing, Iraq. Yes? It's what we today call Iraq.
Okay. So anyway,
So-
how does it explain multiple gods?
So,
Yeah.
To multiple gods.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want to know.
So, Israel literally means, if you translate it, El from Elohim means gods. So Israel means the house of the god Baal, the sun god.
No,
The
actually,
god-
that's not true.
Y- y-
No.
Look it up.
I think
Fact check
look,
it.
look. let's be fair. You're using the term Israel, which is a Hebrew word. In fact, the term Israel was given to Jacob. The name was given to Jacob. You know what it actually means? It means one who fights or struggles with God. Okay? That is what it means. So all these things that you just mentioned, that has no basis. I don't know, you didn't quote any sources. I'm quoting you from the Hebrew sources. In fact, in the Bible itself, this is mentioned that at this place, Jacob was given the name or the title Israel. You know, because there's actually a passage in the Bible, in the Old Testament, where allegedly God fights with Jacob. And he basically dislocates his leg or something like that. And look, I know it's something that as Muslims we don't believe, that God would come down on earth and fight a mere mortal. It sounds ridiculous because the Almighty God, you know, if he wanted, he could just do that and he would disappear. But the term itself is Hebrew. It's not a mix of different names. But look, one thing I want to do is let's make sure that this conversation is fruitful. Otherwise, if you talk a lot and then not provide any references or any citations, then it's just basically your claim against mine.
Okay.
Okay. So I give the references from the Bible, and you can check them if you don't believe me. That this is the name given to Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel beholden to the literal definition of Israel as an argument for multiple gods.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an
The
illustration.
cultural convention
No,
that formed
okay.
the word Israel in no
Okay.
way objectively is an argument for multiple
Okay, we're talking about the Bible, you're saying it's written in Hebrew. You know that that's disputed. Most scholars don't agree
The
with
Old
that.
Testament.
The Old Testament was not written in Hebrew.
Really?
Hebrew is a late language. It's Aramaic, Iraqi Aramaic, written in the Persian square script. That's what Hebrew literally is. It's a made-up language. And if you look at the history of this region, what you're calling Judea or Israel, whatever you want to call it, the language spoken there was Greek and, as you correctly identified, Canaanite. Yes, those are the only two languages that we have spoken there. In the region, let me finish. In the region that is today Lebanon, the language that was spoken there specifically was Aramaic. It was Aramaic.
So you're saying Moses spoke
Aramaic? If you're
Aramaic?
disputing that, I would be very surprised because a lot of you are very educated.
Are you saying Moses spoke
Very
Aramaic?
educated
Did
people
Moses
here.
speak Aramaic?
Sorry?
Moses, did he speak Aramaic?
Moses is supposed to have lived around 1200 BC. And when Moses lived, he's supposed to be living in Egypt. So why would he be speaking any language other than Egyptian?
Oh, wait a minute. Moses, we don't say that he didn't speak Egyptian. We are saying that the commandments that he received were in Hebrew. And being a Hebrew prophet. But look, I think again we are digressing because that question about the
Okay, let's go back to his question.
Yeah.
Multiple gods. Why multiple gods? Yeah.
we want to know what definition.
So-
in 60 seconds.
Okay, this is why you have to have multiple gods. If a god is something that exerts a power, one scope of power is the ability to exert a field. The earth on which we stand, yes, a physical field. So that is illustrated by the ability of the earth to exert a gravitational field and back from the sun to exert a field on the earth. If the power to give life is included in the definition of a god, then as the ancient people of Lebanon believed in worshipping the god Baal, you would have to agree that the sun is a god. Because the sun is a god.
How?
Because our ability to be a living beings is determined and caused by the sun.
No.
If the
How
sun
is it?
is not there, if the sun is not there, we will not exist. There will be no life on earth.
McDonald's is God because
Yeah, you should be worshipping oxygen, you know, because without oxygen we wouldn't be here.
You're just saying living things require sustenance from numerous sources. It doesn't mean the source.
I didn't say numerous sources. You're saying numerous sources. I said one source.
mentioned
One
I thought I'd
source.
add to it, and
You're
then-
putting words into my mouth with respect.
You mentioned one source. I thought I'd add to it.
You're
point out you can include multiple sources, including bread. I could argue. by
Again,
that
you're
logic.
putting words into my mouth. I never said that.
Explain to me why
I mentioned
You're putting
oxygen.
words into my mouth.
Oxygen, water.
It's called a straw man argument, my friend. That's what you're doing. That's what it's called.
Right,
Let's act.
Bill,
in
let's
good
have
faith.
one-to-one, okay?
Let's
Look,
have in
you know,
good
before
faith.
we go to multiple gods, I want to know what's your definition of God. Let's start
Okay.
with that.
So I said
Before
that.
we go multiple or one,
Okay.
let's define
so,
God.
So basically, let's go back. Let's go back to our ability to define what God means.
Yeah. What is your
Now,
definition of God?
I remember exactly what you said last time. What
We
you
have Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter 112 of the Quran.
Yes,
which is
you
very
got
clear.
You got the Quran out, yes,
Yes.
and you used the definition of the Quran. I have great respect for you for doing that
Yeah.
because that shows you're a scholar. Yes.
No,
So
no, no.
as
I know this is, by the way, a basic surah of the Quran which even children know.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. But the fact that you did that, it shows respect, and I appreciate that.
So what's your definition of God?
If I just go back to the definition that you gave me last time.
Yeah, do you remember?
As I believe, as I understand, there's two components of it: an all-powerful will,
Yeah. No, before that. So
independence.
The most important thing for us is one and unique God.
Yes.
Okay. The second is he's independent of everything and anything. So everything depends on him. He depends on no one.
Okay.
Okay. And he's eternal.
Yes.
And that he is he doesn't beget nor is he begotten. That means
Yes.
obviously he has no parents, no
Yes.
children. Like I said, he doesn't depend on anyone, anything.
Yes.
And there is nothing like unto him.
Yes.
So anything that you can imagine, anything that you have seen, anything you have experienced, yes, God is saying is unlike any of that. So we don't associate the creation with the creator. We have a clear distinction between the two.
Yes. Okay. So let's just go with, at the moment, independence.
Yeah.
So-
No, but before you do that, I want to know your definition and then we compare the two. How about that?
So
that's a way to
so
have a
you
discussion.
want me to solve the greatest unsolved problem in the history of philosophy?
No, it's not so. Look.
Before you do, because we're going to go now, because I asked a question in good faith for a 60% synopsis. The minute you gave it, you said I was straw manning. And
Yes.
What I was doing was saying it sounds that your argument is that because the sun sustains life, that gives it the quality of being godly. Maybe I misinterpreted. It seemed you were saying that. Therefore, it was reasonable for me to look around and go, oh, is there any other things which seem to sustain life? Because then presumably you might argue, not definitely, that they also had godlike properties. Therefore, I somewhat sarcastically picked McDonald's, sorry. But bread is a reasonable example of something that sustains life. So why, using the same logic you use for the sun, couldn't I argue that bread also has godlike properties?
Okay, it's a good
Is that
question.
reasonable?
It's a good question.
So I wasn't sure whether you-
Okay. The point that I'm making about the sun is as a source of life. Yes, and that was the key phrase that I used: source. What you've picked is something intermediate between that source and us. So the energy from the sun reaches the earth. It fertilizes the ground with water and produces through photosynthesis plants. And we consume these plants.
water
and one
is
of the
another
forms in which we do that is we eat bread, yes. And if you go back to Osiris, major influence on the Bible, as I'm sure you're already aware as a learned person, the breaking of the bread, the eating of the bread, the drinking of the wine is connected with farming. So there is a very strong link between these religions, particularly in terms of the Old Testament, and farming religion. And there's also a very strong link, it continues all the way through. In fact, the most sophisticated example of this, some would argue and have argued, is Christianity itself. Yes?
But they all thank God for that. For the food that was given to them, the bread that was given to them. They don't thank the sun because the sun itself is a creation of God. Okay. So the whole idea, I mean, if you take it from the view of God, obviously, that He created all these things to sustain us. So the sun itself gets its energy from God. It's not something which has a will that, okay, today the sun is going to provide you energy or light and tomorrow it's not. So this is something, it follows the laws of nature, which are again something God Himself has actually
You expressed your point so far in terms of physics.
has created all these things.
But God is supposed to be about metaphysics.
Can I respond to him?
Okay,
Because
but just
otherwise it's going to be like...
I want to know,
Detail.
because I gave you my
Yes,
definition.
yes,
You're giving
Okay,
physical
so you've got one person agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Okay,
I gave you my definition of God.
Okay,
I would
okay.
hope that you would give a clear,
All right.
concise definition for
So
yourself.
it's a very good answer, very good response.
Yeah.
As I understand it, the response that you gave was that the sun doesn't appear to demonstrate a will. It does what it does with great consistency, which is evidence that there is no will involved. Yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
And suns can die, you know that.
Yes, you're
Unlike God.
absolutely right.
Unlike God.
You're absolutely
Good.
right.
So it's a
yes.
creation, we
You're
know from that.
absolutely- So getting back to the original point, what is the definition of God?
Thank you.
If you include in the definition of God the ability to exert a power beyond itself, the ability to affect in a relationship of dependency other things, then you will get multiple gods.
How?
So you'll get multiple gods. One example I gave
Wait,
is
what was your definition to exert
a power beyond yourself. So a relationship of...
How does that make God?
A relationship of dependency between two things.
No.
So A and B
is the thing
B is
the thing which is exerting its power
Yes.
beyond itself.
Yes.
Is that thing itself dependent?
So the argument that I'm putting is if you include in the definition of God the ability to exert a power beyond yourself, to exert influence on things that are independent.
No, I understood that part. I'm
Yes?
saying that entity which exerts power beyond itself and onto others, is that entity itself dependent or is it independent of everything?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Because
I said Allah is independent,
yes,
remember?
Yes. Well, yes, you're right. This is why I'm talking about the need to have a definition.
That's why I'm asking for definition many times.
If you adopt this definition,
Yeah.
if you adopt this definition, where we're talking about the scale and the degree to which you can exert an influence beyond yourself, at the top of that list would come the sun.
But that's
No. Is the sun contingent on anything?
Yes, it is.
Then it
It's
cannot be
contingent on
independent.
many-
Do you
it's
agree?
contingent on many things.
Do you
yes.
agree it's not independent then?
It's
If it can die like many suns we have seen in the
Okay.
cosmos, then surely it is something which is, number one, we have already agreed it doesn't have a will. Number two, that it can die, which means not eternal. Number
Yes.
three, and which you consider two, that it is not independent. How
Yes.
does it make the sun a god?
You're jumping to the other definition. Now, you previously argued, the last debate that we had, that God is the independent thing and everything else is the dependent thing.
Yes.
Yes? That was your definition.
Yes.
You took
God
that-
God
I
is not
understand.
contingent on anything.
I understand that you took that from the Quran. I mentioned that there's then a paradox, because if you are using that to explain God as the creator and us as the created, this is the relationship of the independent creator and the dependent created, you have a paradox because your creator also needs a creator. And you get an infinite regression because a God needs a God maker, the God maker needs a God maker maker, and the God maker maker needs a God maker maker maker. You get an
Why do you say
infinite
that?
regression.
No, why do you say we need infinite regression? I'm saying we don't need an infinite regress, and this is the only way you can plausibly understand independent God, who is not contingent on anything. The fact I also mentioned another definition from Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter 112 of the Quran,
Yes.
that is eternal. And eternal, when you're eternal, then you are the first cause. You are the uncreated creator, okay? And you don't require anything or anyone
Yes.
for your existence.
Yes.
So which makes it very different. Like you said, look, when you talk about anything from the creation, like the sun, the Jupiter, moon, or whatever you want to call it, from the cosmos, all of it has something which caused it.
Yes.
Therefore, it is not something which is independent. It is not, we are talking about God who is a necessary being. Without him, the sun that you consider as God wouldn't even exist.
Yes.
So the sun is not a necessary being, but God Almighty, the one that I defined, is. So you
Okay.
cannot, the problem of infinite regress is not there.
Okay.
Because he's the first cause.
Okay. Well, so let's just jump to a slightly different point.
Yeah.
How does God create the sun?
How? By his power of his ability, because he's a creator, he's al-Khaliq. If you're thinking in line of like, does he require any raw material to create? He can create it ex nihilo. No problem at all.
How?
Because by his power, because Allah says in the Quran, if he wants something to be created, something to appear, something to originate, he says kun fayakun, which is his command. Okay, be and it becomes.
Okay.
That's all.
So if that really is true, then you would also argue that he should also be able to suspend the laws of physics when he feels like it as well.
He can, if
Because
he
he can
wants
say
to.
the same thing.
He can if he wants to.
So then let's say we gave the example of this old lady,
Yeah.
her car's broken down, it's the middle of the night, she has to get home, it's very dangerous. Let's say she has to get there because she has to look after her pet cat who won't have any food to eat.
Yeah.
So why can God not have mercy on this old lady and suspend the laws of physics and the car will just work and get her home?
As I said to you, if he wills, he can. Like in the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Abraham was one of the prophets of God, and the king who was the ruler at that time, he didn't like Abraham preaching the oneness of God. And he was obviously one of those idol worshippers. So he put Abraham in fire.
Yes.
And the nature of fire is to burn.
Yes.
Okay, and to destroy ourselves and so on. However, God intervened.
Yes.
And he told the fire to be cool for his Khalil, okay, who is his friend. Abraham is one of the titles, he's a friend of God. And it became cool. So when God wants, he is not going to interfere in your daily life. Because you know the bit about that old lady you said and the cat and so on? God, if you look at the other side of that, or
Yes.
you'll see that why does God not zap you when you commit a sin? See what I mean?
Good question. It's a very good question.
So if God intervened in everyone's life on a daily basis, trust me, we wouldn't even exist. But the thing is, God is giving us time. Just like you know, when your teacher gives you time during examination to prepare, and then during the exam itself gives you time again to finish the test. But then when the teacher sees you writing a wrong answer, is the teacher going to interfere? And if it does, would that be fair on the other students? No, it wouldn't. So in the case, in rare exceptions, we are not talking about exceptions like Ibrahim alayhi salam in his case and so on, he does interfere and there is meaning to it and there's a reason for it. But most of the time, God Almighty wants you and me to go along with the test, and then the real test is how you respond to that. So for example, let's say you're going through a calamity, you're going through a hardship, yeah? Maybe somebody's child died. How you respond to that situation. Many times people stop believing in God at that time.
That's true.
Yeah? So they'll say, how can God do this to me? How can God destroy my child who was innocent, who's just a few days old? And then they stop worshiping God because of that. Because they blame everything on God. But then when they have good times, they stop believing in, the same people will not even remember God. They say, look, we're having a merry time. No complaints, no gratitude, no nothing. So a test is a test. You just have to deal with that. And Allah says another thing. Allah says that He will not test you beyond your scope.
Okay.
Okay? So if you're unable to carry out that test, then He will not give you such a test.
Yes.
The test will be within your capacity. Okay? So yeah, that will explain what you just mentioned.
Okay, so as I understand it, what you're saying is the best example I think you gave was the students.
Yeah.
The students are sitting an exam, and for God to intervene and help one student to do better than the other student would be unfair, so He will not intervene and let them all sit the exam and then mark them. He will reward them accordingly based on merit. Yes? So the point that I'm making is that you're now saying that God is aligning Himself with the world through an objective set of laws and rules.
Explain.
For example, this is the rule called merit. There is a rule called merit which basically says those that study for the exam should be allowed to get a better reward, and those that haven't studied for the exam should not be allowed to cheat so that they can get a result that they don't deserve. Yes?
There's rules, of course.
Yes.
To this
so God is an instrument through which we get these rules.
Yeah.
And these rules make us better off. In this example, they give us productivity.
Yeah. Morality is an example, because the halal and haram that the Muslims believe in.
Yes.
So if you look at all the harams, for example, lying, fornication, gambling, alcohol, all of these things, are something which are haram, and most people will agree with them.
Yes.
That they are immoral and you shouldn't do that. In fact, you don't even need to be religious for most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you can recognize the immorality in them even as a non-religious person.
Yes.
Yeah. So the definition of God is very clear in the Quran. But you see, you still haven't given us a definition of God. In fact, you gave,
I
but,
agree.
but
Yes,
your
I
God
haven't
was
yet given a definition.
Yeah, so why don't you do that? Because it's been like a good half an hour, and I was hoping that you would at least give us one clear definition of God.
Okay, so first of all,
and this time let's not sidetrack, please.
Yeah.
Good.
One proviso is giving a definition of God is itself a very big problem, because no one has done it satisfactorily. In the sense that there is a consensus and agreed definition. Yes?
No, wait. When you say not agreed, so most religious people who believe in the oneness of God have more or less the same definition. So a lot of people do agree. In fact, I would say 2/3 of the world might agree.
How many debates here do you have about God and about whether God is a Trinity or not?
Yeah, so in that case, you're talking, look, the reason we have different religions is because they define God differently. I'm not saying there is I'm not saying there's a consensus, but if you see consensus within the religion itself, there is a consensus. Like for example, in Islam, there is a consensus. Within Christianity, they have a consensus of their own. So there is differences interreligious, yes, but within the religion itself, there is consensus.
Is there, we're slightly different question here, talking about whether or not there's a consensus.
I still want to know a definition of God from you.
Okay, all right.
Bro, come on, we've been asking this like so many times now.
So in terms of what I would put forward, you would first have to choose your definition. And based on the definition, and you can choose any of the definitions you want. Once you've committed to that definition, you have to go with the answer that you've got.
Yeah, what's the definition?
And if you pick one particular definition, you will get no gods. Zero gods. There are no gods.
Bill, what's your definition?
Let me finish. Because you spoke at length. Let
we are beating it on the bush. I've asked this question so many times now.
Let me finish. Finish. So, for example, you agree that, say, the god Baal is not a god. You believe the sun is not a god. Yep. Or you believe that bread is not a god and wine is not
Bill,
a god.
forget about others.
Yeah.
Give us your definition.
So in the
Give us your
cult of
definition.
Dionysus, bread and wine they were like God. Yes. So
Give us your
And that's
definition.
linked
Forget
to
about
Moses,
others.
the story
Forget
of
about the
Moses.
Egyptians,
Yes.
the Mesopotamians, the Jews, the Israelites, even the Muslims. For now, give us your definition.
okay,
Please.
So what I'm saying is there are multiple definitions.
What's your
I'll give you
definition?
the first one.
But do you
I'll
have
give you the
multiple
first one. I'll give you the first one.
No, your
Where-
definition.
Where,
Forget
you,
about others,
where
yeah?
you get where you get.
Bill,
zero,
I want your
where-
definition, not
okay,
other
okay,
people's
okay,
definition.
okay.
Give us your definition.
Okay. So if your definition of God is an
No, not mine. Your definition.
okay. If
Because look, I was sincere. I gave you my definition, very clear from the Quran. You're
let me
still
give you
beating it on the
illustration.
bush, man.
You ask me what's the best car, and I say, well, it depends on what your criteria are for choosing the best car. If you're talking about reliability, it's going to be this one. If, however, you're talking about price, it's going to be this one.
Yeah.
And if, however, you're talking about comfort, it's going to be this one.
But the question was, what's the best car to you? So you should give your criteria.
No. I might have three different
Even the
cars.
analogy is wrong.
One based on one criteria, another based on another criteria.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you have multiple gods you believe in? That's the reason you're struggling with the definition. Is that the reason you're struggling?
Let me
Go on,
answer your
please.
question.
I hope this time he's true.
So, if you are going to define God as that which is independent and itself is not influenced by anything else, you're probably in modern science today going to end up with no God.
Modern science based on whom? Give me one scientist
Physics.
or a physician
Physics.
who gives that criteria. Go on.
Okay,
Name me
okay,
one.
okay.
Name me one. Because you don't have any. I know that. You make claims, you have no citations, as always.
You're using the fallacy of authority.
Actually, you brought it up.
This is not about authority.
you brought up physics.
I'm talking about physics.
Yes. So which physics?
Physics is experiments.
That's fine.
And equations.
Give me any or a few physicians who have said this.
No,
Not physicians, the ones
friend,
experts in
friend,
physics.
It's irrelevant what one person said.
So
like
you have no
Stephen Hawking.
citations for your claim. Once again.
My friend, physics, by definition, is the subject where we don't care what anybody said. All we care about is the experiments and the equations that report the result of the experiment.
Yeah, which
That's all
experiment
we
was
care-
done?
And you're specifically in physics not supposed to cite anybody's authority.
So you're telling me there is
So-
a physics
so-
experiment. Wait.
Okay.
You're telling me there is an experiment in physics to identify God. Utter rubbish.
Let me answer.
Utter
your question.
rubbish.
Let me,
You
again, straw man. You're putting.
How is it
you're
strawman?
saying-
I asked for
you're saying-
citation, you give none.
No.
And then you brought physics in as if it makes you look good.
My friend, you're saying things that I haven't said. You're ascribing to me things
Which
I
which
haven't
part
said.
did I not say?
Okay.
Sorry, which part did I claim? It's
Can
actually.
I say what I'm saying, or you're going to say what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying you're not answering the question. You
Okay.
keep deflecting every time.
I'm
Why
not,
is that?
I'm not. Every
Do you
time-
have the definition of God? Yes or no?
If I try to answer the question, you want to interrupt.
No. We have been here how long, guys? At least 30 minutes? Yes?
I'm
How many
dealing-
times did I ask him
I'm-
to define God? Every time he sidetracked.
What
You
I
know
said
why?
was-
Because he doesn't have a definition.
I'm focusing
So
on
now he's-
answering your question, my friend.
He doesn't have. It's
I'm focusing on answering your question.
What was my
If
question?
If you define
No,
God
what was
as
my
that
question?
which is independent and itself
Bill,
has no
what's
influence
my
from things
question?
beyond
What's
itself,
my question?
you will end up with no God in physics today.
What's my question?
I'll explain why. Let me
No,
explain
let
why.
me know
In
whether you
physics,
understood
let
my
me explain
question.
Why.
What is my question, Bill?
Everything that exists in physics today.
You know the reason he
exerts
doesn't answer this
an
question?
influence
Because I asked,
on
what
those
is your definition
on
of God?
those things
Now you went to
around it.
physics. You haven't studied physics, have you?
So
You haven't physics as a major. You haven't.
How do you know what
I'm
I
asking
studied?
you.
How do you know what
Based
I
on the
haven't-
answers you gave last time to us.
My friend, I have studied physics.
And physics-
I was a top student in physics.
Really? So,
Yes.
so you're telling me
Yeah.
physics...
One of the top students, even at the
Physics.
age of 16, one of the top 1%.
Oh, you mean
in
high
Britain.
school?
Top
Oh
1%
dear.
in Britain,
He did high
A-level,
school physics. We all do that.
And I've studied at degree level.
And can I say that
my friend,
there is no physics, there's no physics experiment for God.
My
Do you
friend,
agree?
My friend,
You're waffling now,
whether
come on.
or not there is a physics experiment
There
for
isn't
God
one.
is an open question.
There isn't one.
There
No,
is-
because you cited it.
You just said that you don't know much about physics. Now you're telling me what physics.
When did I say I don't know much about physics?
You just said that.
No, I didn't. I said
did.
you don't know.
You said.
you're not even listening.
You said that it's not in your comfort zone physics.
I never said that. Stop
You did.
putting words in my mouth. Stop
Okay.
strawmanning me.
Okay, all right.
Ah.
I won't strawman you. You
I
don't
said you
strawman
don't know
me.
about physics.
You
because
don't
you
strawman-
said there's a somebody conducted
You keep
experiments.
Okay. Then we got to do 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
No.
That
I think
way-
we are going to
that
end it here if you don't answer my question about definition of God from you.
I have given you a
No, you
definition of
haven't.
God. God is basically in a system of dependent parts.
What?
God is the objective laws that those objective system of parts obey in relation to each other.
Give me an
That's
example.
the only thing that God can
Give me
be.
an example.
There can be no other
No,
definition.
give me an example.
Any other definition must be false.
Give me an example.
Yes.
Of what you just said.
Okay. For example, the laws of physics themselves.
Yeah.
The laws of physics themselves.
Gravity, yeah?
Gravity is one example of these, yes?
So you think gravity is God?
There's a gravitational force that is equal to the sum of the masses divided, the product of the masses divided by the square of the distance between them multiplied by the gravitational constant.
Is gravity God?
Yes? So, that is an objective law.
Can you answer the question?
And God is contained in that law.
Is gravity God?
God must be contained in that law.
So you're saying the law of gravity is God?
Yes.
Okay. Where's the evidence for that?
Okay. Let's look at why that
If
would
you think
be.
physics will agree with him,
okay,
please.
Let's use a standard method in logic and assume this is false.
Okay. No.
If this is false-
You have to tell us how is God.
Can I decide what I'm saying or you decide what I say?
No, you have
Are
to.
you my boss?
No,
Or I have
I'm
to do
glad
what
I'm
you
not
say?
actually.
I'm just-
I'm glad I'm not your boss.
Can I decide what
I'll have
I'm
a
saying?
headache.
Can I decide
Somebody
what
get
I'm
me a
saying?
Panadol every day.
Hashim, you're going to decide what I'm saying.
No, hold on. You said the law of gravity and the
Okay.
laws of physics,
Okay.
they are all God. So we have hundreds of laws, right?
Actually, this is an open question. How many laws do we have?
Multiple.
There are attempts to summarize all the laws of physics into one equation.
Called what?
It would be called the grand unified equation of physics.
Right, and
Yes.
that will be God, one God, yeah?
That would be the expression of the will of God, yes.
Right. So now you have said, one thing you have said, the laws of the physics are basically God. And they can be unified as one formula or equation.
It's open. It's an
Right.
open question. What this
So you have
means is
reduced
people
God to an equation now.
It's an open. It's an
Just
open.
gets worse for you. Sorry, mate.
Okay.
I still haven't got a proper definition from you.
I think you have.
By the
But
way,
did
are
you
the laws
listen? Did you listen?
are the laws dependent
Because
or independent?
The laws become dependent. There is a dependency in the laws, yes.
What is
And
that?
There's a So basically, you would describe this universe as the non-cancellation aggregating possibility space. That's what this universe.
Can you have laws without the universe? Are they dependent on the universe or not?
There is a dependency in the universe between the laws and the universe.
And we
itself.
consider the universe as a creation of God. So your God is dependent on his own creation. That's what you're saying basically.
What you're essentially saying is that the universe
That you're
has to be
talking
self-created. And
rubbish.
The laws that emanate within the universe, that must be your definition of God.
Now I'm asking you,
Yes.
are the laws of physics dependent on the universe? On space and time, for example?
No, you got it upside down.
How?
Upside down.
How?
So
Did the laws of physics exist before the universe?
What the universe appears to be doing in physics is rolling dice. That's your possibility space. You roll dice, that's a possibility space. What the universe is then saying is, I have a preference for how those dice roll. And I will only allow them to roll one way, and I will cancel out every other way that they roll.
Please answer the question.
And that preferred choice of how things are rolled is the laws of physics. Everything else the universe is telling us, I will cancel out like a god.
Are the
It will
laws
be
of physics
cancelled out.
dependent on the universe? Please answer.
The laws of physics are based on rolling dice and
No,
cancelling
are they dependent
out.
on the universe?
Cancelling out.
Are they dependent on universe? The laws of
Are
physics.
the laws of physics?
Can you have
dependent-
gravity, for example, can you have gravity without the universe?
Can you have gravity without the universe?
Yeah.
There's a two-way relationship between the two.
Yes or no?
There's a dependency
Can
between
you,
the two.
based on the equation
There's
you
a dependency
gave, based on the
between two.
equation you gave of gravity, can that apply outside the universe?
You need masses in order to have gravity. You
Exactly.
need space and masses
So can
in
you
order
have
to
space,
gravity.
time, and mass without the universe?
Can you ask the question again?
Space, time, and mass.
No, those are the definition of the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another
So
fallacy.
can you?
It's another
no,
fallacy.
no,
My
no.
friend, it's another
No,
fallacy.
I asked you.
It's the fallacy of definition.
What is my question?
The
You didn't
universe
understand.
is space.
No, I
the
said
universe
without-
is mass, and the universe is
I know,
energy.
but can you have the laws of physics without those three criteria?
No, because the
There you
laws
go.
of physics.
So they're dependent.
Yes,
They're
that's-
dependent on
that's-
space,
that's
dependent
exactly
on
what I
time,
just said.
and dependent on mass or matter.
That's what I just said.
So
about
your God
10
is
minutes ago.
dependent.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. My God is not. That means my God is better than yours. Alhamdulillah. I rest my case. Anyway,
friend.
Bill, thanks for your
Okay,
time.
thank
You
you.
know, because look, we need to have a definition. And as far as I know, most physicians are atheists. You know why? Because they care about studying the naturalistic phenomena in the universe, and they study the nature. And that's how they postulate their opinions, their criteria, so on, based on observation of the naturalistic universe that we know of. However, when you start saying that these laws of physics are actually God, then you're stepping outside the realm of science,
that's not
naturalistic
true. That's not
science.
true. That's not
Philosophy maybe, but you're outside the realm of naturalistic science.
No, I'm
Naturalistic
not.
science, by the way, do you believe that there is good and evil in the universe?
Depends on how you define them.
Good and evil. How do you
There's,
define evil?
good and bad, but good and evil. Evil is a loaded word. What does evil mean?
So the let's say the superlative of bad.
Okay, there's very bad things in the universe.
For example, take Hitler for example, or Netanyahu today for example. Okay, to me they are basically manifestation of evil today, because they are responsible for killing thousands of people.
Okay, why are they doing it?
Wait.
Why are they doing it?
The thing is, do you acknowledge there is good and evil in the world?
Yes.
Okay.
Based on that definition, yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
How does your God deal with good and evil? How does he punish or reward good and evil? Or is that not necessary? Is it not necessary to punish Hitler, someone like Hitler or Netanyahu, when they commit genocide, when they commit atrocities which are basically appalling by any standard?
Okay.
Do you think in your worldview,
But are you equally opposed to all genocide?
Yes,
or just
absolutely,
the genocide
all.
where Muslims are the victim?
In fact, even if the Muslims commit genocide, I'm opposed to that.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
and this is
good.
what Islam teaches us.
Respect
Yes,
for you there.
in Surah Al-Ma'idah, it's in the Quran. If you kill one person unjustly, it is as if you have killed the whole of mankind.
Okay.
And if you save one man, it is as if you have saved the whole of mankind.
Okay.
So we have this principle in the Quran. Don't go by those fringe groups out there, which basically use religion as their, as some sort of a smokescreen.
Okay.
So we go based on the Quran and Sunnah, and the Prophet ﷺ, he is a rahmatul alameen, which means he's come as a mercy to mankind.
Okay.
That even during wars, he enacted principles not to kill non-combatants, not to kill, women and children, not to kill the people who are in the synagogues or places of worship. So these things were there long before the Geneva Convention was even formulated.
Okay.
So alhamdulillah, so I'm asking you, does your God, your laws of physics, whom you consider as God, I don't know why, do they deal with good and evil?
Okay.
Do they deal with punishment?
The question you're asking, can you get human laws from the laws of physics?
No, I'm asking for justice. Whether
That's-
it's human or non-human, does it serve justice in your worldview? Your God, does he serve justice?
I believe that you can get the human laws from the laws of physics if you frame the laws of physics in the right way.
No.
And you get
justice.
this grand unified
I'm talking
equation.
specifically about justice.
If you get your grand unified equation, yes, that will help you to derive human laws, the laws that we
already have human laws before the grand equation.
in order to be good people.
Before the grand equation, we already have justice systems here. So we don't need any sort of
But
equations.
Are they perfect justice systems?
Exactly. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying not human.
Are there a lot of disputes?
No. Hold on. Do you remember the question I asked you? Justice based on God, not based on humans.
Okay.
Okay.
Why are there so many disputes about the laws?
So answer the question.
Within religion.
Does your God deal with justice? Yes or no?
Of course.
Give me an example from the laws of physics.
Okay.
How it deals with justice.
So, you need to jump from the laws of physics as they're currently framed, which in terms of mass, energy, charge, and concepts such as these,
Yeah. How does it deal
into
with
something
evil?
that relates to human beings.
How does it deal with evil?
The main way that you would jump to human beings is in two ways. One, you would describe human beings in terms of energy, a system of energy, a thermodynamic system of energy. Another is that you would describe a human being in terms of a system of time. So a human being seeks to preserve their lifetime and to continue that lifetime through their children. Does that make sense?
Actually, it doesn't answer my question.
It does answer your
Okay, what was my
We're talking
question?
about deriving laws.
What was my question?
And I'm answering that question.
No,
right
what was
now.
my question? I want to know if you remember
How do
it.
we get laws? How do we get the laws? How do we...
No. My question was very
That's what you
specific.
just asked.
My question was very specific. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say if somebody is a repeat offender. Say, for example, a rapist. Okay?
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how many times they put him in jail, the guy comes out and rapes. Okay? How will the laws of physics deal with such an individual?
Okay. Well, okay, why? First of all, you need to define, why is rape a crime in the first place?
Seriously?
Yep, yes you do.
Seriously? You
Yes.
think it's not a crime?
Yeah, no, why is it a crime? Why is it any... Okay, let's take an example.
If you're going to ask that
At
question,
one
then
point in time,
you got a lot more problems than I thought.
slavery was legal, yes?
Yes?
And today,
Yes.
most people believe that it's wrong.
Yes.
Why did most of humanity believe it to be right at one point in time, and most people believe it to be wrong today?
By the way,
Let's
remember
take
the question is...
consent. Let's take the age
No,
of
no,
consent.
No, Bill,
Today-
you have done it again.
today-
I asked you
today
justice
the
of
age-
God, and you're coming back to human beings.
I'm coming, trying to answer the question. Today, the age of consent, say here in Britain, is 16. but once it was 14. Now, what happened in the universe?
It was 7 in Delaware in the USA.
No, or in France today, it's 15.
Yeah.
So what law happened in the universe where only in Britain is it 16, only in America is it 18, and only in France is it 15? Is there something special in the soil?
I'm not talking about human laws. Think about the law of God, please.
The point I'm making.
The justice of God, that's the question. You keep bringing it to human laws. I don't know why.
My friend, the point I'm basically making
Yes,
is
what?
there's a lot of confusion about the law. The law is not something that's given to us on a plate. There it is. Good boy, go off and obey it. We need to some adults out there, that the wise men or the wise women, whatever you want to call them, the wise elders need to sit down and they need to work out rationally what are good laws, what are bad laws.
You need a meeting to define whether rape is wrong or not.
No, my friend. You need,
was that time in history?
Okay. Right now the law's being changed. Yes.
I'm asking you.
Right now the law's being changed.
Was there any time in history when rape was okay?
Okay. Right.
Was
now,
it okay any time?
Okay. Right now, let's talk exactly about this right now. Yes. So
I ask for laws of God. He comes back to human
we have
beings.
statutory rape today. Yes.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
And statutory rape basically means the woman's not been raped. She may have actually enticed that man in order to engage in sexual activity.
Yeah, she said
it's
no.
called entrapment.
She said no.
And I'm sure you've heard of Jeffrey Epstein. Have you heard of Jeffrey
Yes.
Epstein? So Jeffrey Epstein was grabbing 14, 13, 14-year-old girls on an industrial scale, hundreds of them. He was then basically having sex with them himself, paying them $300 for each time. $300, yes.
Was it? Okay,
and then what he was doing, he was lining them up for politicians, senior politicians,
and rich people,
businessmen,
Yeah.
and industrials in America.
Yeah.
And what he was basically doing is he was videoing this. And once he videoed this, he would then use it to blackmail those individuals on behalf of some unknown foreign governments. Now we can speculate who it is, but no one agrees. There's no agreement which governments it was.
Some say Mossad.
Yep, that's a speculation. We cannot say that definitively because we can't prove it.
How does that answer my question?
But what we can prove is that he was doing this because he admits he did it.
By the way, do you consider this? Do you consider Jeffrey Epstein?
So this is statutory rape.
I know, but do you consider this to be wrong and evil?
Originally, this is what rape was.
Yeah.
There's a lady walking here along the park. Yes. 2-3 guys. They grab that girl. They drag her into the bushes.
Yeah.
Beat her over the head with a brick. And they forcibly rape that girl. They forcibly have sex with her. She's screaming, don't rape me, and they bang her over the head, cover her mouth, and they rape her. They forcibly rape her, yes? And they go all the way to ejaculation. That was for years the definition of rape. The definition of rape has now changed. And what they're now saying here in Britain, this is exactly what's being done right here in Britain, what they're saying now is, a guy has married his wife. They've been married for 20 years. They've got a custody battle, and there's hundreds of men in prison for this right now, by the way. Hundreds of men are in prison. The reason I know about this is because I've worked in the family court as a Mackenzie friend, and I know about these the scale of this problem. So there's a custody battle, and there's 2 children, and the woman then says, and it's women of all backgrounds, by the way, it's not just one background of woman, every woman is
so they allege their husbands raped them.
There's a secret form, which is nearly 20 pages long. You're not allowed to see it. I had to fight so hard to get access to this form, and on this form, the woman is asked 19 pages of questions about how the man, this is for a custody battle over kids, how the man has raped her, how he has drugged her, how many times he beat her, all of this stuff, 19 pages of this. The man never gets to see this, by the way. It's all secret, it's all sealed, as we say in British law. It's sealed from the opposing side, which is itself supposed to be illegal in Britain. Its discovery is supposed to be you see all the documentation. So what's happening right now is these women who are getting divorced and there's a custody battle are saying those 2 kids were conceived because my own husband drugged me with paracetamol from the cabinet above the sink in the kitchen or in the bathroom, and that's how my 2 kids were conceived. They're doing fact-finding. The man isn't allowed to represent himself. He's not allowed to argue his own case. And that fact-finding, and maybe these men have bad lawyers, there's hundreds of these men that are in prison today because a woman is retrospectively saying 20 years ago, when she's had sex with her own husband, she didn't consent to it, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago.
So look, I've heard what you said. You mentioned the Epstein case. You mentioned these women abusing their rights, basically, isn't
and
it?
claiming they didn't consent, where the evidence, the balance
fine.
of probability is
So all
they
of
did
this,
consent.
all of this,
and the
there
police,
is-
unfortunately,
No, I understand.
Police in Britain are heavily involved in these miscarriages of justice, and it's very interesting that the Rough Justice programme, which the BBC used to run in Britain, was cancelled because if that programme still ran today, there would be thousands of these cases that would be covered.
So the question,
by that TV
the question,
programme.
Bill, I want to ask you,
Okay,
because here we see a person. wait,
so I
we see a
define what
person.
I believe rape
No,
to
no,
be,
we see a
and I
person who's a
define
victim.
What I don't
Hold
consider
on.
rape.
We
to
see
be.
victims in
Okay?
both cases, right?
Yes.
In the case Epstein case, in the case with this, statutory rape and so on.
Yes, and also
Now the
women,
question, Bill, you need to answer
if
is
you
this.
define it in terms of a woman grabbed over there in the park and forcibly raped, one of the most evil things that can ever happen to a human being.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
That's why you call it evil.
Yes.
The question now is, how is your laws of physics going to provide justice for her?
So now let's answer that question.
Please do.
So over there is a woman, and that woman has certain rights as a human being.
Yeah.
Because that human being wants to live, she wants to have a life, she wants to look forward maybe one day to having a boyfriend, a relationship, a husband, having children,
How is justice
having
served?
a home. Yes. Now, the fact is, if I'm a man and someone does that to me, what would the effect be on me?
How will the victim get justice,
Now,
whether it's a man or woman?
Okay,
How
so,
will
so,
they?
so the
how
fact
will they-
is, many men and women that suffer that kind of rape, men as well as women, are so traumatized.
Are you going to respond to?
They commit
Are you going to
suicide.
tell us how justice is served by the laws of physics,
No.
which you consider to be God?
I'm trying to answer you.
No, you're not actually. You're waffling again.
I'm not.
You keep doing that. I don't know why.
Many of those individuals that suffer this type of crime, they commit suicide.
And
Because
is that the solution of the laws of physics?
Well, there is. I'm getting to it.
Okay. I hope it's
So
just.
one of the goals of physics would be to preserve the lifetime of the members of the species. And lifetime is a concept about time. And time is a variable in modern physics, although it's not very well understood. And I'll give you that. So what we would argue is, when that, and we're using the real definition of rape, not these fake laws where they're harassing men and all the rest of it.
First degree rape,
Yeah. Okay,
Let's say first degree rape.
First degree rape.
Yeah.
That type of rape. A lot of these people, men and women, they commit suicide, they suffer depression. There's many other things where they.
You're talking about the victim, right?
They're the victim.
I'm
yes.
asking, how will the perpetrator, the rapist, get justice?
So
Please.
we identify the victim makes a complaint. That complaint goes to a government authority such as the police.
Yeah.
The police investigate the rape to ensure it's not a false claim. There were some women, there's a woman in Manchester, she famously claimed 3 guys grabbed her, raped her, beat her up, and it turned out it was all lies. Yes?
How will the perpetrator get justice?
The police then investigate the matter. They verify that it is true. They identify the perpetrator, they arrest the perpetrator, bring the perpetrator in for questioning. There's objective evidence that proves it's true, or the perpetrator confesses, and then that proves also that it's true. Yes? Usually there's evidence that causes them to confess. What we then do is we then punish the perpetrator in the appropriate way. The appropriate way is prison, and that person then forfeits.
When you say we, you mean humans, right? Not God.
I'm saying the people are basically causing these laws to be there.
But not
the
God.
government is obeying
So
the will
God
of the
doesn't
people.
punish. It is the people who punish.
The people, when they do this,
Yeah.
are basing their decision on an objective standard.
No, I'm asking, does God punish or do people? For example, there are many perpetrators who actually don't get caught. Do you agree? I'm not saying all.
Not
I'm
today,
saying there are.
not
Even today,
not
trust
today.
me.
DNA evidence, my friend.
You know how many poor
Video
people?
cameras.
Trust me, how many poor people get raped? If you look at the caste system in India, the lower caste, the outcasts,
come on.
they get raped many times, and the perpetrators go
I had a lot of
scot-free.
respect for you up to this point, but now.
Why?
Now,
Because it's to do with the Hindus and the caste system.
Now,
Come on.
oh, come on.
This is, by the way, this is not something I'm just making up. This is reported by the Indian. The Indian media is reporting
I
this,
know
not me.
and who's paying the Indian media to do this?
So you think it's wrong?
I believe that is
Many ministers go scot-free.
USAID, which runs the Indian media, is paying journalists in India to run those stories.
So you think they're not real?
I think a lot of those are what we call false flag operations. Do you know what a false flag operation?
I know it was a false
flag. Do you know what 9/11 was?
You're telling me that
do you know what July 7 was?
Bro, you're telling me all those.
Let me finish.
All those Dalits who get raped.
July 7,
the untouchables.
July 7. The guys missed the train. They missed the train that they're supposed to be on, where the bombs go off.
It's not going anywhere.
And two trials in Britain have concluded that they were not on those trains when the bombs went off. So how are they suicide bombs?
We know what a false flag.
Okay,
but I'm talking about. Do you remember the story of Dharamsala, which happened quite recently, actually? There was a whistleblower.
Yes.
There's this Dharamsala, this temple where the lower caste women were brought in, raped, and then thrown away and buried somewhere. So the whistleblower recently. No, it's the case is still ongoing.
My God, do you
maybe
really
you're not keeping in touch?
You really believe this stuff?
I think
highly educated.
The courts in India do.
Intelligent person.
The courts in India do. The police in India do. That's the reason they set up
the CIA
a special.
Has famously said the only country in the world where every single general is on our payroll is India.
So you think India is being controlled by the CIA?
India was controlled by the East India. Yes, it is. Of course it is.
East India Company, I understand. That was a long time ago.
By the way, did you know the head of the ISI? Did you know the head of the ISI, the Pakistani ISI,
intelligence,
said, retired?
Pakistani
he said only 4 or 5 months ago, we do the dirty work of the CIA. That's what we exist for. So that's both India and Pakistan. Yes.
Are you saying every case that is brought to the court in India about rape? I think that's all wrong.
I would say there's a lot of false flag operations here.
I'm not denying there are no false flags.
Have you heard of Operation Gladio?
Look, I never said there's no false flags. But now you're going.
Have you heard of Operation Mockingbird?
You're not answering the question I'm asking. I'm saying there are Dalits who get raped by higher caste people, and they go scot-free. But your justice cannot be done by these laws of physics.
When it comes to 9/11, then he knows what Operation Mockingbird is.
I didn't say I knew it.
Flag operations
I never told him I knew it.
When it comes to false flag operations in India,
speaking of strawman arguments,
then suddenly you don't know what Operation Mockingbird is.
I don't look at all conspiracy theories out there.
Okay, what is a conspiracy theory? Have you studied criminal law?
No, and I never claimed to.
Did you know that it's?
But do you know about the Dalits who get raped? Did you know that?
Do you know?
Are they all wrong?
Do you know it's widely believed in criminal law?
You know what, Bill? I need to go to pray now, and as you know, Mansoor told me it's time to pray, so I'm going. But anyway, thanks for the nice discussion.
Well done.
As always. But please do look up Dharamsala case, which is ongoing right now, and the Indian police is involved. The criminal system there is involved.
And I also believe the CIA is involved.
Look,
and I know them to be involved because there's admissions. Documents were leaked that prove that they are involved.
I don't think the CIA are interested in the Dalits.
They were leaked about 6 months ago. It was a major scandal. Linked to USAID.
I don't think the CIA is worried about the untouchables in India.
And they were funding large numbers of TV channels and news channels in India and running false news stories.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, thanks for your time. I'll take that microphone before you go home and sell it on eBay or something. But thanks for your time. Appreciate it as always. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.